So namaste and welcome to Satsang. So Satsang is an event like this, but it's also really our life, our whole life. Our life is where we get to apply what we're seeing, what we're understanding, what we're having revealed to us in our inquiry, our meditation, our contemplation. And our life is where we perhaps we might start the spiritual search, feeling that those are two different places, our life and then our spiritual search. And more we're going to find that they start to do this, that if either one of these is out of balance, they both seem to be out of balance. So life is going to ask us to apply what comes up, what we've seen in our inquiry and our meditation. Our spiritual practice is, of course, good, and we do need to do it. But the real practice is where we apply that in our life, in our finances, our relationships, our career, in the normal daily, day-to-day things that we do as human beings. And for me, there were many places in my life where I had to really reach deeper inside myself to be able to find the desire, the willingness to apply what I was seeing. Some places it would be easier to believe myself to be a separate being and that there was another being that I was having a challenge with. Easier, but not better, certainly more painful to stay. Easier because of the habit of momentum of staying in the illusion. So I just wanted to say that because we all have these areas of our life where we might find it very, very challenging to apply what we're seeing. And that might be in two particular areas. So how do we find that courage to apply the recognition that we're just one being here, experiencing itself through many bodies? How do we find that willingness when we seem to be having a problem with another being, a being who seems to be outside of us? What is it that calls us to remember what we have seen in our inquiry and our practice in those particular moments where life is challenging or outright difficult? What can we reach for inside that is going to spur us to actually try to remember? And that is our devotion to truth. It might sound obvious, but the more we have fueled this desire to recognize and live as the truth, the easier it's going to be in those moments to want to apply the truth. So you're having an argument with another being, and that might be, for me, with another being that I didn't get on with, that I had a real challenge having any civil conversation at all. It also was the other way around, where it was beings that were very, very close to me, like my own children, my sibling and my parents, as I'm sure it is for everyone. So what do we do then when we're having those challenges in our life? Because we all have them, and this is where the rubber meets the road. This is where we get to actually live what we're seeing or not. Whether we stay stuck in some kind of illusion, trying to fix a problem that does not exist because it's a problem that I have with another being. Even to say, how do I remember my oneness when it comes to these other beings? Again, it's not really a problem that we can solve or need to. I just wanted to try to give some encouragement here because we are human beings with human lives. The one self showing up as a human being, the one universal, omnipresent self showing up as you, as your life, as your challenges, as your awakening. And there's times when it's challenging to apply that, the times when we're going to feel most separate, most isolated, most cut off from the help that we need. But is that ever really true? And can we cultivate a desire inside even deeper to recognize the truth? Most people that I come across, and it was the same for myself, are absolutely convinced that their devotion to the truth, to waking up fully in this lifetime, isn't all it should be or needs to be. And that they are lacking in their capacity or strength of that devotion to truth, especially when some outside problem, seemingly outside, like a challenge at work or a challenge in a relationship or with our children, when that comes up, we might feel that that is pulling us away from our spiritual practice. But what if that is the spiritual practice? What if our meditation and our inquiry, etc., is preparation to make sure that when it comes to applying, we're in the best possible situation to actually be able to apply it? To remember in that moment, this being is me. Actually, I'm looking at myself, I'm talking to myself. Or this thing that I want or need out there, or the thing that I want or need to get rid of from inside, some emotion, some fear, or whatever that is going to, am I going to remember that it is also what I am? Can I get rid of something that is my own self? Can I, can I actually accept and receive something, or even allow it to come to me if it is my own self already? So whatever field of human endeavor we're involved in, or whatever we find ourselves each day, that is really where the practice gets applied. I've met a lot of people, myself included, back in the day, who knew a lot about non-duality. But there was such a discord between what I knew inside me and how my life was actually playing out. And eventually got so uncomfortable, life kind of pushed me into having to apply this. And most people I meet these days are so different to that. Most people I'm talking to, they're already really trying to apply the truth to their life. They might just need a little guidance on how to do that. It's a very rare being. And I know you probably won't think you are one of these as I say this, but I have to tell you that you're very wrong. A very rare being that would actually immediately want to apply what they've seen to be true. There was a gap for me between recognizing something and the willingness to actually then go and take it into my life. I'm saying that to kind of bust through this idea, smash this idea that your devotion to truth isn't enough. I mean, you're here, right? You showed up for satsang when there was a lot of other things you could be doing. Maybe it's one of those satsangs that saves your life because you're in a lot of fear or whatever is going on, and you just need to be in satsang here and taking refuge here. But even if that's the case, it doesn't mean that you are less than or lacking in the devotion. By the time you end up listening to words like this anyway, you are so far down the path that nothing could stop it. The imaginary path, the one that the mind takes and not us. And there's only one conclusion here from this point. Awakening is just continuing to deepen as your experience. And don't judge your progress by the few sticky areas or many sticky areas in your life where it's really just very challenging to apply this. Our progress we can assess by our willingness. So in that moment, some emotion comes up, you're having an argument with someone, and this emotion comes up, and this, oh no, not this again, arises inside. Why is this happening again? Can you do anything about that in that moment? No, absolutely not. What can you do? You can use that moment. If you get lost in the thoughts and the emotion, then you have a little vacation from truth. You go visit illusion again, then eventually at whatever point you come back. What can you use that for? What's the best way to use that? For me, it was ultimately the recognition this is one less time till this never happens again. And I would use it to light an even greater fire inside, as if each time I got lost in illusion again, the same old thing again, instead of blaming myself, eventually I realized that that wasn't helping. It was like it was wood for the fire. This is one last time I'm going to explode out of anger. And it might seem strange to imagine me exploding in anger, but I did. And I cried with despair, and I felt desperately unworthy and totally alone. Just like you, there's no difference. We all go through the same process. Desperately alone for, I don't know, 10, 11, 12 years. I was angry for a good solid 10 years as well before that. And then the anger ran itself out and replaced with jealousy of all the saints and sages that had achieved what I was trying to do, embarrassment and utter shame that I even thought I could or even should pursue awakening. And it was my dirty little secret. I wouldn't tell anyone because I was just so embarrassed. And the reason I'm telling you all of this is because I want you to know that what you're going through right now is the process. It's not something you're doing wrong. It is not an easy thing to awaken to the truth. To see the truth, it's perhaps relatively easy, but to apply it consistently to your life and allow it to transform your whole existence, that's not the easiest. So you're only responsible for the willingness to do that, to apply it. Not the actual applying, that will happen by itself. You're only responsible for the desire to live from truth, and you already have that. And I want you to recognize that or at least try to recognize that your devotion to truth is way stronger than you might give yourself credit for. You can't judge your devotion to truth based on how many times you get lost in illusion. You can judge it by how many times you come back and try again and again and again. That's what's important. You are going to wander off with some thought pattern, some emotion, some situation, some experience into illusion. But here you are still keeping on. I'm saying this because most of this week, things I've been hearing and talking to people about are always this same theme. And that is that we're questioning our love of truth. We're questioning whether it's strong enough. Am I going to make it if I'm not even devoted enough? And you are already devoted enough. What if your situation is much different than you think? What if it's not an if you're going to make it, but only how fast you're going to allow the unfolding of what's already occurring? The infinite, absolute reality that you are, that is omnipresent, omniscient, cannot be stopped in any way by anything, least of all illusion, which is also made out of truth, by the way. Reality appearing as illusion is still reality. Got a lot easier when I realized that. Didn't fight with it so much. You know, look, it's showing up as illusion again. So perhaps take another look at yourself with a fresh seeing, a willingness to look at yourself and recognize just how utterly devoted you are compared to what you think. You know, time and time again, I see the same faces here on Satsang and in classes. Same people showing up again and again and again. And in doing this most noble of human endeavors, it doesn't get any bigger than this, the realization of the truth of who you are. There's nothing you could do, your body could do in the whole universe that equates to this. I mean, this is where the sages hang out. This is where you're living more and more each day. I could go on for another hour trying to emphasize my point, but hopefully you get it. Hopefully you're willing to see that by the time you end up here, there is nothing lacking in your commitment to truth. In fact, sometimes I end up having to tell people to take some time off, like go watch some Netflix. That's your practice tonight. Find a funny movie and relax, or something like that. You are infinite. You are the one being showing up looking like a human being, looking like a human being, trying to recognize who you really are. That means that anytime you do anything at all, when you sit down to meditate, when you ask a self-inquiry question, when you put the kettle on for a cup of tea, when you go to work, when you pick the kids up, you are the entire universe moving at once. It's not like there's all these little beings everywhere and everyone's doing their own thing and somehow we all come together and it works. You are literally the whole universe moving as one. Nobody has ever made an independent action, spoken an independent word, or had an independent thought. You are the universe expressing itself. You are the wholeness and the totality appearing as you, not like loads of little things. You are all of this appearing as you. You are truth, desiring to recognize its own nature. How can you fail then? You've never made an independent action. You can't choose an action that is outside of what the rest of the universe is doing. I mean, it's like the ocean thinking that one wave can do something independent of the rest of the entire ocean. It's just simply not possible. I would like to really And when I get really animated, I start talking a lot with my hands. So I would like you to think about what that means. You've never done anything, any action or any activity, spoken any word or thought, any thought, even taken a breath. Like if I choose to put my hand up now like this, the whole universe decided that. I couldn't have done that as a separate being. The enormity of that really hit me. Like every action, every word, every thought, every desire, every intention, every breath, every cough, every sneeze, and other bodily functions we won't go into. You know, they are all the universe moving as one. The mind hates that because it wants to be independent. It wants to be make its own decisions and choose its own choices. But if you look the other side of that, if you are the cosmos itself, choosing to go and make a cup of tea or coffee or whatever, driving to pick the kids up or going to work, or trying to realize the truth of your being, or trying to live as that truth, can you still feel the same way? Can you still imagine that you could fail? You are the universe, the cosmos, with all of its resources and the infinite power of the source, the truth, reality, the absolute reality. And you never could divide yourself into parts, ever. It's just never happened. You see someone walking across the street, that is the universe deciding that's what's going to happen. Not deciding in the way the mind decides, but no human being has ever made an independent action separate to everyone else. You cannot get outside of yourself. So I'm saying this to try to emphasize that there is no way to fail at awakening. When the cosmos appearing as you decides it's going to recognize where it came from, what's going to stop it? I hope that helps you to relax, maybe enjoy it a little bit more. And from the perspective of the cosmos, it does not matter whether you apply this recognition in the next time, as soon as Satsang is finished, to some area of your life, or if it takes another 5 years. Of course, we would rather it be sooner so that we're not suffering, but if not this body, then the next one. But let's do it. Let's do it now. Let's recognize who we are now. Let's stop imagining ourselves to be small beings, limited and lost and trying to find our way home. Okay, I'm going to read a couple of questions that have been sent in, and then I will take some questions from here. I'll take a maximum of 5 questions online. This one says, Dear Helen, how can we help ourselves when confronted with a psychosomatic illness like chronic insomnia? I know the role my mind plays in it, but this does not seem to help. Neither does surrendering to it come easy, as it feels like I'm not properly living. Despite knowing intellectually I'm always safe as being, I do not feel my body and mind are safe with this ongoing illness. How can wisdom and practice help here? Thank you for your teachings. So chronic insomnia. I never really liked that term psychosomatic, you know, it always, I don't know, there's some energy about that word that I just don't like. And I've never struggled myself with insomnia, but I've watched some of my children wrestle with it. So to know the role the mind plays in it, as you said, it doesn't really seem to help. So what I would like you to do is to look at, our mind says, you put here, despite knowing intellectually, I'm always safe as being, I do not feel my body and mind is safe with this ongoing illness. So mind says that the thing that's happening to my body is causing me to feel a certain way inside. So because this thing is happening in my body, I don't feel safe in here. Our mind likes to divide reality into two parts and says, this is the cause and this is the effect. So the illness, the insomnia is the cause, and how I feel, scared, not safe, is the effect. So I'd like, if you can, to momentarily, temporarily, mind, just disconnect these two. It's not this thing causing that. Even intellectually, we can understand one thing can't cause another because there's only one thing. If that statement were true, I don't feel safe because, then it'd have to be two things in reality. So what is actually going on here? Could it be that this insomnia is a reflection, a mirror image of not feeling safe? And then this lack of safety, fear, reflects as different situations going on in our body, our life, our relationships. So I would recommend here some contemplation on this idea that you aren't safe. You're experiencing the idea that you're not safe as your life. And this idea seems so true that it seems almost ludicrous to question such a belief. But again, intellectually, even as the beingness, as the cosmos, as the absolute reality, can it be true that you're not safe? So just to notice that mind wants to separate this into two. I'm scared because, and when we stay with that thinking, we stay in duality with our thought process, in two-ness, and we can't really live as the oneness then, and we'll feel very disturbed. Most of all, if we're separating ourselves from anything at all in our imagination, because we can never actually do it, we're going to feel very, very unsafe. There's something or someone out there that can affect me. So we can never fully feel safe then. So there are a whole lot of videos on the YouTube channel. There's a playlist, the Core Teachings playlist, and a contemplation playlist. And it will show you how to turn this belief, I'm not safe, into a question. And as the question is asked, we begin to lose our capacity to believe this thought, I'm not safe. And then with that, the body begins to relax. And the sleep pattern can begin to restore itself back. So please do look at the contemplation videos on the channel there. I'll just read this one last one, and then I'll come to the hands that are up. Namaste, Helen. Is deep sadness or grief and awakening mutually exclusive? I have been walking the spiritual path for most of my life, the past 2 decades in particular, not to elicit sympathy, but rather to offer context to my question. I'll give some condensed background. Wanting very much to be a father, I was given 2 wonderful children. Now grown, my son is autistic and my daughter suffers from uncontrolled epilepsy. I have experienced significant loss through the sudden death of loved ones, and the grief of my son's autism was crushing. But the relentless ongoing pain of watching my daughter's struggles with seizures, brain surgery, and the debilitating effects of multiple medications is for me far worse. She is now 40 and has been epileptic since the age of 3. It is literally gut-wrenching and is a wound that will not heal and is with me to one degree or another in every waking moment. Like most people, my spiritual path has been a slow progression with many realizations leading to where I am now. I am familiar on a daily basis with living as the watcher and experiencing the stillness and silence beneath the surface. Not all day, but frequently and more so all the time. But this deep sadness often pulls me back into identifying with the emotion. I observe my sadness rising and falling. And I recognize what is looking at it is not it. But I'm also living a human life, and it's very much part of that. I cannot imagine being alive and not caring, especially for the suffering of someone so dear to me. I guess that is attachment, but I cannot see a way where that deep caring would not be present, nor do I think I would want it to be absent. I feel I am doomed to live in a state of being unable to fully awaken, while at the same time being unable to give up the search, probably the worst of both worlds. I value your ability to clearly communicate about the awakening process and would appreciate any insights into my question. Thank you. So, a couple of things I really want to say here. First of all, I don't think that deep caring is attachment. Caring for the suffering of someone dear to me. I don't think that's attachment at all. I think that's love, the love of the infinite self expressing itself as a parent and child relationship. So I don't think that you need to worry that that is going to hold you back. Of course, you would care about your children. And of course, that deep love and recognition of who you are is only going to emphasize that love and your capacity to care. For me, I had this myth inside me that when I woke up to the truth, I just literally wouldn't care about my children anymore, or that I wouldn't be able to be as efficient or effective as a parent. And it's utterly untrue. So I want to also say that it seems like this challenge you're having, you're putting it there as in it's going to stop you from awakening. You feel that you are doomed to live in a state of being unable to fully awaken, while at the same time being unable to give up the search. And what if this situation with your children and your awakening are the same thing? What if they're not two different things at all? What if, as you go deeper, then your relationship and your capacity to parent is going to be even more immense? Obviously, you're an extremely wonderful parent, or else you wouldn't have even written in and asked this. So far from stopping you from awakening, I think it's going to actually, and it is already, propelling you. For me, when my children went through something that was so horrible, so awful, that the only place I could get through that as a parent was to stand as myself, where I didn't and couldn't separate myself from them. And in that, not wanting to separate myself, being the oneness with them, recognizing they are appearing as my children, but they're really my own self in disguise. My capacity as a parent was greatly increased, and not limited at all, actually, in the capacity to love. And that capacity to love as a parent, an awakened parent, gives me goosebumps, you know? All of our children are blessed to have us as parents. It's not selfish to want to wake up, and it actually will help and is helping your children go through, although it sounds like they're adults now, they are still being blessed by that. The thing that I'd want you to look at is the sadness. It's not sadness because of the situation. It's just sadness that's been brought from the previous body-mind vehicle. The desire for love, for joy, for peace, for freedom wasn't quite recognized in the last body-mind vehicle. So you bring it into this one to continue working on. And, you know, a little bit of looking at that sadness would really help. What does it want to tell you? Not about your children, just sadness, feeling that sadness. Mind again wants to attach it to something. I'm sad because I'm just sad because it's hiding a belief. It's showing a belief. And I looked at sadness myself. It said that there's no point trying to get what I want. It's just not going to happen, because what we want more than anything is awakening and the well-being of our children. And of course, they are the same thing. They're not two different things. Over and over again, I see parents on the pathway with extraordinary children. And with some of those children have extraordinary challenges. What if we reframe that completely to the understanding that because we're on the path as parents, we can be of the greatest assistance and open our hearts completely to facing whatever life brings us, and not just with our children, but here, that's what we're talking about. And I see so many people on the path blaming themselves that they don't feel that they're good enough parents, especially when their children are going through something horrible and something that's not just going to go away. And perhaps it's very different. Perhaps those very special and extraordinary children chose us as parents because they knew on some level that we could and would reach deep inside our heart to find the strength to help them. So 3 things. You have these beautiful children because you are able to rise to the occasion and to be there for them. They chose you on a soul level. That's the first thing. The second thing, your awakening and this issue are not 2 different things. They are the same one thing. And the third thing is some contemplation on the sadness. And then you won't be impaired by this sadness when it comes to helping them. You'll be able to express yourself as a parent. The self shows up as a parent, conscious of who it really is, the infinite self. There's nothing greater in the world. Okay, so we'll go to Nina. Hope I'm saying that right.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can, yep.
Yeah.
Lovely to talk to you.
Actually, I just discovered your page and I've been sitting in meditation and listening to you for a couple of days and my head is bursting. I've been on this path for a very, very long time. And the YouTube that really triggered me was that you said the mind was on a journey and not me. And that was something that just opened up a whole new universe for me. And I've had many revelations and I've been going back and forth. And but right now, just a question popped up in my mind. And because this believing that I am the person is kind of strengthening somehow. I can sit in meditation and all of that, and then I get bombarded with my sister. She lives a completely different life, and it seems to be so opposite what I feel inside now. That is kind of, it's just, I wonder what kind of sign it is, because she's actually defining me as being very different. And so I feel more individualized, if you understand what I mean. And that's the opposite of what I want. If I'm gonna actually leave this person, you know, or not feeling like I am inside this person, she is showing up and just representing everything that I'm not, if you understand what I mean.
What are you not? Tell me what she represents.
She's just a very happy-go-lucky lady, very nice, very nice, but she's just having a very different lifestyle. And she has lots of money. She's traveling the world, going to Dubai, drinking lots of alcohol, partying, and And I feel so, it's very hard to describe. I cannot connect with her with these things, you know, but I still have to kind of go along with her happiness.
Yeah.
And I just feel different, and that it makes me feel more like me.
So does it have to separate you in your thoughts from her, or can it be, here is the infinite self showing up as these two body minds, expressing itself uniquely, individually, but not separately?
Yeah, you were actually saying that in the beginning of this talk, that the whole universe is moving in different bodies, and
it's okay to want what you want and to not want what someone else has, you know. It's often quite challenging when it's our biological family, because perhaps other beings, we might just kind of drift away from them and find sort of more friends who are into on the pathway or into meditation or whatever. When it comes to our family, sometimes it's challenging because we still, of course, want to spend time with them and have to, but there might be quite a difference in what you like and what your sister likes, as you said.
It's just then the capacity or the ability to see my family as not being my family seems like impossible. To view them, or I mean, I've had very, very deep revelations where I saw that I was actually breathing the universe in and out of myself, and so I know it's possible. But like you so honestly admit that you have been on this search for so long, and I'm just sick of it. And I've done this for so many years.
Why are you so convinced that you're not already
Yeah, I've been
seeing
thinking.
the oneness, right? Like, so for me and my sister, we love each other deeply and we get on very well now. We didn't before, because of well, many factors, but most of all because I was very judgmental of her life, and I was in that really annoying spiritual stage where I was sure that everyone should get on the path, you know, and I was happy to tell everyone they should be on the path. And I must have been a very annoying to be around at that point. But it did help me when as I came through the other side of that, it helped me to see that even my willingness to see that she is me, that's me applying my oneness, my seeing. I can't really use the fact that I still have emotions or negative emotions about her, or that we still have some conflict or something like that, as evidence of how I'm doing. The only factor I would use to assess how you're doing in applying this is whether you're willing to or not. And I know you are. That's the success there.
Thank you.
So you do the best you can. You love her the best you can. You love yourself also the best you can when those emotions come up. Still the same old stuff again, right? As you accept your own self and whatever emotions come up when you interact with another human being, then the other being is going to accept you more too. And you're going to be able to come together. If we're judging ourselves going, I should be able to apply this better here, this truth, to live as it, I should be able to, then we're rejecting ourselves. And the other person literally can't get as close to us in the energy. Can you see that?
Yeah.
It's
a
always
kind
an inside job, right? It's always an inside
yeah,
job.
I know. It's just to accept the resentment that is kind of coming up. And
Resentment about what?
or the judgment. Maybe it's a better word. But I can contemplate that. I can, like you said, you just drop everything. You drop all the thoughts coming up and just
And
go
if you
back to school.
can't drop everything around this, can you
Hmm?
still accept yourself?
Hmm?
Can you still accept yourself and love yourself if you can't? Ideally, yes, just drop it all. And if you
Hmm.
can't, still you can love yourself, right? You're doing the best you can.
Hmm. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Wonderful to talk to you.
Hmm.
Okay. We'll go to Rowena.
Hello.
Hi. How you doing?
Yeah, good, thank you. How are you?
Good, good.
Good. It's nice to see you. I haven't been to Satsang for a while.
Are you Roboti?
Yeah, that's me.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So yeah, it's nice to be back, and it's really so interesting because one of your videos popped up this morning as I was just going about my day, and then I wondered about Satsang, so that's why I joined today. But the video is so interesting because then I started just, I guess, like contemplating a little bit. And then what you shared just now just feels like it fits and basically answered so many of the thoughts that were coming up for me at that time. And it's just around that idea of things, you know, everything being part of the one. And I think as I've been going through my own process, I've just been noticing that there are things that I used to find so mundane and that used to take such an effort for me to want to do. And I used to get this kind of like horrible feeling of, and you know, it's not that that's completely gone away, but you know, things like cleaning or cooking or like writing an email that, you know,
Yeah.
I had to figure out what I was going to say, all those kinds of things. And then in the last few months, it's just felt like that's part of, it's just part of everything else. It's not this extra thing that I, you know, that I have to do. Like, here's the stuff that I want to do, and then here's the stuff that I kind of don't want to do. I
Yeah.
have to. It started becoming much more integrated. So just things like doing the washing up is like, I'll just do a little bit at a time, and it feels like it's part of this flow.
Mhm.
And so yeah, I'm just sharing some stuff because like it really feels like it connects to that. And then I think I do have a question as well. That yeah, it's just that sense of everything being part of me or the one, or and rather than there being these kind of things that feel like obligations or things that aren't good enough. Like, another thing is having kind of fairly, you know, just like small talk conversations.
Mm.
Those are things that I felt like I really wanted to have meaningful conversations a lot of the time, and I still love a meaningful conversation. Like, and that's why I love connecting in these kinds of places, because we're talking on such a deep level. It's so cool. But
And
I've still,
even just like we could just stop talking if we wanted to, right?
right.
And we're just we wouldn't be like, what's she doing? You know?
Yeah, because that was another thing I was going to say. I feel like even because there's a part of me that's like, oh, I really want to make sure that I get all my words out and that I'm able to express myself. And I'm like, no, Helen's going to get it anyway. Like, it doesn't matter kind of almost what gets said out loud. It's like there's this feeling of connection and sharing. And even as, you know, as I heard you answering other people's questions, and as I heard like the previous person sharing, there's a part of me that's like, you know, trying to figure out what I'm going to say and stuff like that. And I'm like, no, this is the experience. Like, this is all part of it. Like,
I
this is,
don't want to miss it. Let's just actually be here with each
yeah,
other.
exactly. And it's just, it's amazing. Like, because I just feel this like joy and excitement as I realize that. So that's all being kind of like, it's like everything's starting to become less separate for me, and it's really exciting. And I think there's still this, you know, like part of like what I wanted to ask about is that, or just to share and to see like what your perspective was, is you know, recently I've been I think it's more, I feel less like I'm moving towards a point now, and I feel more like I just keep on coming back to center.
Yeah.
So that feels like that's been a shift for me. And sometimes it feels like I come back to center, and then I almost get like pushed out into the world.
Yeah.
From there. And it's like, I remember sharing in a satsang a few years ago with Rupert Spira, and he talked about like the inward path and the outward path. And I was saying, well, when do you start on the outside path? And he was saying, no, they're like at the same time. And I can feel that now, and it feels like there's a flow. But then there's some times where I get drawn towards certain people or books or ideas or something like that, and I get really absorbed into them, and I get so excited about these ideas, and they feel like they're kind of almost like unraveling something within me or something like that. But then I also get this sense of like, I don't want to get too caught up in them or something like that. And should I be, that's where these shoulds come in. Am I getting too drawn into these ideas? Am I getting too like fascinated by stuff, or that kind of stuff? So that's like one thought, that I sometimes find myself getting very absorbed into things that feel material, but then I wonder whether it's again all part of the same thing. And that's almost, yeah, just part of that expression and that unfolding. I think that's mainly it. I guess like the bit that I feel the most separation still in is with relationships with other people.
Yeah.
That's still, there's something around like, I've learned to, this is the last bit, and then I'm really interested to hear like what you have to say. But I think it's that like I've started expecting a lot less from life, in a way, not in a bad way, more in a just kind of less predictable.
Appreciating what's already here more. Yeah.
Exactly. But then there's also like a parallel process which feels the opposite, which is like, okay, well, this stuff, like I'm letting go of that, because I'm letting go of the expectations of it having to be anything else. But I'm also wanting to move more resolutely in the direction that my being wants to go in.
Yeah.
And that sometimes feels like the scarier part.
Yeah, it always feels like treading into the unknown a bit. But after a while, you just fall so in love with that, because you see clear that you've only really been suffering from what you think you know. And something already deeply loves being in the mystery of it. I mean, you can't really say what you are. Ultimately, you are this, whatever this is. I still don't know what this is, or what you are, or what I am. And so as you seeing and living as that more, there's a dynamic movement of that self, being, consciousness, whatever, where it wants to express itself in all of your life, and it will sort of push forward into, let's say, a relationship, expressing the oneness in that relationship. But what that looks like is some friction in that relationship, first of all, right? And we're going, oh God, why is this happening again in the same way? Instead of, we could say, oh yay, the oneness is going to totally transform this relationship now. But of course, it doesn't look like that. It looks like same old stuff. And there's a unwillingness then with that to allow that truth to kind of permeate all of our lives. And that's really where we kind of deeply embody this, isn't it? In those moments where it looks like something's about to go wrong, or we're about to go away from the path. That's usually where we're most on the path in terms of actually living like this. It's the worse it looks in the outer world, sometimes the more transformation is about to happen into expression of love, living as that oneness. But that won't always feel so comfortable.
Yeah, no.
If somebody just showed up and said, okay, next we're going to embody this in your relationship with your sister, So there might be some friction for the next few months, but don't worry, it'll all turn out right in the end. You know, we go, oh, okay, great. But what happens is you go see your sister and then you have an argument and then you get all upset and then you identify with the illusion and then you beat yourself up and you know, so it's never looks like, it always feels uncomfortable for a long time.
Yeah, and I guess like I wonder about how to differentiate between that and between kind of like this feeling of discomfort is showing up because you're trying to make something happen or you're trying to go in a direction which actually isn't in alignment. Because I guess I've had experiences like that as well where, because yeah, if you know, take the example of siblings, definitely like I want to I want to cherish those relationships, and there are always going to be those discomforts that come up, and for me it's like, yeah, well, that's the part of like, that's a part of deepening intimacy. Whereas last year I was in a job and I just was trying so hard to expand my awareness and become more compassionate so that I could stay in that job, but
Instead of just admitting, I hate this job and I want to leave.
Exactly. I really needed to leave, and I'm so glad I did. But it took me a long time to
recognizing the difference between those two is as simple as asking. Your body can tell you, am I trying to put a round peg in a square hole here? Or is this uncomfortableness right before I, you know, sort of embody this in another area? You know, is this resistance to life trying to move me somewhere better, you know, in a case of a job? Or is it some growing pains as I'm, you know, expanding in manifestation? So I found it helpful just to ask that question, which one of these is it? Eventually it'll be very clear. This sucks right now because it's really, I've outgrown it. It isn't what I want. Perhaps it never was really what I wanted. But this is kind of just something I'm going to have to really look at, and it will turn beautiful afterwards.
Thank you so much, Helen.
Thank you. Thank you. Don?
Hi. Thank you for having us. I was focused on what you said about these mind bodies. Do you consider the mind bodies separate, or is that part of the illusion? And so that leads kind of my next question about sort of dealing with my family and sort of seeing my family members as narcissists, and then remembering when I have been a narcissist and when I have been like emotionally over the line with, like acting out ways, is like the bigger narcissist you are and the more in the separate mind body, the harder this journey becomes. And is that, the deeper you're into the ego and different into the separation, is the journey become that much harder, or is everybody sort of is it kind of like a, what's the word, binary? You're either on or off for non-duality, or is it on or off, back and forth? Or how does that play, and how does that make any sense?
If you could just try to rephrase it, one question for me at first.
Yeah, like if you're really steeped in the ego and really narcissistic, is it so much harder to awaken at that step?
You wouldn't actually be anywhere near awakening. If you were totally lost in your ego, you wouldn't be even able to find your way to satsang.
Well, and I think I was there, and I see people that are there. And is that me looking at the cosmos, the mirror of myself, places I'm not? Or is it there are, even though there's oneness, there are separate mind bodies out there?
If there's oneness, there's only one thing appearing as all of this, nothing separate to it, ever. Everything then is seen to be an expression of it, of that oneness, including minds and bodies thoughts, all of that.
And these, when you were talking, referencing that first woman, maybe Nina, talking about the sibling and the separate mind body, is that in her case and in my case, is that the illusion of separation that we're bringing to the picnic, or is that they really are separate mind bodies here still functioning as the cosmos?
The cosmos appearing to be a mind and a body is not actually a mind and a body. It can look like many things, right? An infinite number of things, but still not actually. This isn't a body. These aren't words I'm speaking. And that you aren't listening through ears right now. You're not breathing,
Right.
you know. Those are just convenient labels we put on certain shapes. But then they have no actual reality of their own. The body could never exist outside of its source. Therefore, it is non-different than its source.
So when I'm like in that, does that mean I'm showing a lack of love for myself, or a lack of love for, like when you come on and you say, I love all you guys, I love you so much, is that sort of you reaching out to the cosmos and self-love and cosmic love, or
Oh
is
yeah,
that?
well, totally self-centered of me. I'm loving
I
myself.
didn't say that.
No, I'm saying that. It's
Yeah.
a non-duality joke, sorry.
Yeah.
So, capital S, self-centered. It's we can use those words, like it's nice to speak with you, I haven't spoken in a while, or you know, we call each other different names, but really that's just very superficial on top of that deep recognition of our oneness, our sameness.
Okay, I think that's good, and I very much appreciate it, and I'm glad you're selfish in love. So
Me too. Thank
always.
you. Thank you. Good to talk to you.
Thank
Don.
you.
Thank you. We'll go to Danette.
Hi, Helen.
Hi.
Can you hear me okay?
I can. Wonderful.
Excellent. Well, it's so nice to meet you. I just got introduced to you, actually, I think accidentally in the summer.
Accidentally, don't you love it?
I know.
Like
Accidentally, intentionally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. When I started retracing my non-duality path a little bit, and somebody reminded me, myself. And so you and I were in a Danette and Helen retreat from Wednesday to Sunday. You didn't know it, but I went going through all the core teachings and practicing the contemplation and practicing them. And it was just fantastic. So thank you for being there and here today. And the non-duality, like everybody else, I've been down the chutes and ladders on the path of life. And the non-duality was so powerful to me. It felt like my life was, especially in the last 5 years, have been like volcanoes, you know, in the ocean, shooting up, just like this. I'm my own like Hawaii state of volcanoes or something. I'm not really sure, but lots of erupting. And I knew it was coming up for healing and to let go of some karmic patterns. And I got to the point where before that recognition that it's coming up for healing, it was more like, I don't like this, feels like a big joke, a big game, I want off. And all the religious, spiritual, metaphysical, pardon?
I remember that stage, and it was awful. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, well, I feel like it's been about 5 years of it, but it's awful. And yet, you know, as you're standing on the edge saying, I just want to fall over the edge, there's something in me that's saying, you know, all this stuff is not enough. It's not enough. I can no longer use a Bible verse. Hope is not a strategy. Like all of these things were just not enough. I needed this direct experience, which I didn't know that was the word.
Mhm.
But that proof, I needed proof, like no more blah, 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 blah. And so I stumbled onto, I want to say Awakening Together or something. Oh, I recollected reading Inner Ramana a couple years before in some of the volcanic ashes that were floating around. And so I stumbled onto that and into some non-duality, and I had instant recognition, total, so much was going on, but I had total peace, just total, I get it, direct experience of what I'm not. And I had all the stuff was going on. I was in court with my family, sister, dad's death, plus all this other stuff, and I was totally at peace. It made no sense with my old mind thought pattern. But what I found is that my mind and body have so much momentum in muscle memory of thought patterns and emotions and beliefs, not the limiting ones, all of the beliefs, that the momentum was carrying me and I hadn't stabilized in my body mind, if that makes sense. I know it's there and I keep glimpsing it and experiencing it, but I'm trying to stabilize a little bit. And I am also experiencing more spontaneity and things just coming and me not needing to know. I feel like I watched something of yours that said fall in love with not knowing. And I was like, yes, that's really hard for me, but it's getting so much easier and it's so much
Is
better.
it hard for you? Is it hard for
It's
you?
not as hard, not when it happens, it's not hard at all. It's the only thing that's hard is that I used to think that I had to do the other thing. Does that make
Is it
sense?
hard
Like,
for you to fall in love with the unknown?
only when I think it is.
Something is having a challenge with it, but is it you? Could you be watching this whole show? The how do I surrender to the self movie that's playing in front of you in the mind, and you're just simply watching as the infinite awareness.
If I don't get in the car and take off with.
Can you, as awareness, open the car door and get in the seat?
Oh, yeah, I totally can.
Can you? Does
Mhm.
awareness have hands?
Oh, no, I get what you're saying. No.
I'm just
I can't-
saying this because you're giving yourself a huge problem to fix that isn't yours.
Hmm.
If we look at what you actually are, a direct experience of what you actually are right now, let's just go to that. What do you find when you look for yourself? What are you?
Hmm.
And does it have this problem that you've brought here? Does it struggle to do anything, or does it even need to get comfortable with the unknown?
I just can't find an answer.
That's okay. But how does your body feel? Maybe your body, the way your body's feeling, is an answer. How does your body feel? When I ask you, is this your problem?
It's like blank.
Your mind stops.
Yeah.
Emptiness, nothingness.
I keep hearing empty, like I can't find it.
Yeah. And yet 2 minutes ago, you were sure you had a big problem to solve. Which is true then? Is it this that you're experiencing now? Is this the truth?
There's nothing to solve because there's nothing to, yeah, I can't find anything.
So no matter how much you imagine that you have problems to fix, is it ever true?
It seems that it's true.
Seems that it is, but is it really?
Yeah.
It seems to be, can just seem to be. But if you know, I don't even actually have to wake up or embody this or whatever. It's all just going to happen as I watch from here. What could you do as emptiness? Can you even grasp a thought? Believe a thought? Could you resist anything or hold on to something? You're literally insubstantial and intangible. Everything else is our imagination. And I know it's like your mind says, well, don't know what to say now then, because there's no problem left here, is there?
Yeah, I was thinking the only problem is something I could imagine. I imagine that when I get on this call with this person who's disturbing me, quote, that it's going to go this way and I'm going to feel this way. And that's just an imagination.
And I imagine that I fell back into illusion and then I came back out into reality and, I feel better now. And it's all nonsense.
That's like, it does feel like a lot of nonsense.
This is why the direct experience is so important, because we can actually prove right now I'm making all of this up. And then just kind of go, oh, that was a really kind of vivid hallucination I was having there for a minute.
Yeah, that was vivid. So,
For a
Helen,
millennium.
pardon?
Or for a millennium.
Or yes, that too. Or multiple, yeah. I'm pretty sure it was you that said, don't just stop at the positive feeling. Like sometimes I feel like, oh, this is just so empty and peaceful and empty. I just keep coming back and I love it. And then mine goes, yeah, but when you get on that call or when you have to move next month, like you have to solve some of those problems. So there's a little part of me, and I want to be totally transparent because I'm devoted to truth. So, and I love the direct experience. So there is part of me, I could pretend and just be super
I'm
religious
done now,
or
I'm
spiritual.
finished. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I get it. It's lovely. Thank you. But I really want.
So you go back into whatever experience you pick up the phone, you dial a number, you're hearing a voice on the other end, and you can feel something starting to inside.
Yeah.
And just then there's an opportunity then, isn't there, to try to remember what you've seen. Like,
Right.
can I remember my own emptiness when my body is talking on the phone and getting a little contracted? And if I can't, I can't. If I can do it half an hour after I put the phone down, great. If I can't, I can't. If I can do it the next day, great. And all of that is nothing to do with you. You're just watching the emptiness, the mind and body go through these contractions and then back to normal, and attention goes to the emptiness, and then it goes back to thoughts, and the body gets all tight, and then attention comes back to the emptiness, body goes, oh, and attention goes back to the thoughts, and the body goes, and you know the rest of that story. But is the emptiness changing?
It's like it's here and all this stuff is rising and falling and yet.
So can you, when you're on the phone with that person, can you just, okay, something is buying something because there's some tension in the body, but it isn't really real, this, it's not a denial then. Once you've seen what's actually true, it's not a denial, it's actually the truth. For a little while, you'll have both going on. You'll have this contraction and also a remembering this isn't really true, actually. I am the emptiness itself. And gradually, as you just don't mind so much, this contraction will begin to disappear more, because more and more we're just kind of grounded in that knowing that there is only me, and I'm everywhere, and I have no attachments or anything to let go of or any of that stuff.
Yeah. And then staying out of the judgment of, because I've noticed afterwards, I'm like, I did it again.
Did you?
I got in the car and took a ride, but did I?
Did you? There, see?
I love the question. I just walk around all day saying, is it true something can take me from my peace? That's my new mantra. So I love that place of being curious. But yeah, did I? Thank you. Wow.
That's a powerful mantra. Did that actually happen to me? Or is this my problem, actually?
Mm.
I just took that everywhere with me while I was, and even if you judge yourself, did I do that? Or did judgment thoughts just arise?
The judgment of thoughts arise. What did you say? Do I have a problem or is that my problem? I'm sorry.
Is this really my problem?
Is this really my problem?
Because mind is just going to give you a whole list of stuff that really, really, really is your problem. And it'll be very certain of that. When you go, not so much. Nope, 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 nope. You check it out as the emptiness, actually experience it. Is this my issue? Do I have to stay as the self, as the emptiness? Not so much. No, I can't not be it. You know, I am it. There's no way to not be it.
Hmm.
So you imagined yourself to be a separate being again, for however long that lasted, and got all tangled up again, and then something unraveled itself and relaxed again. Nothing happened to you.
Nothing happening here.
Yeah. Wonderful.
A little bit more kindness, I think, and trusting, because it has all unfolded without me orchestrating it anyway.
Yeah.
It's only been an illusion that I thought I was
Well,
on this
seriously,
path.
the whole universe runs itself without us having to manage it, right? So can we let go a little more in that? It's yeah.
Helen, is there a like I did the not this, not this, not this, so I'm the emptiness, like that felt like direct experience and proof. I feel like there's a gap between that and we are all one, we are all the same, we are expression. I like the narrative of that. I feel like, oh, that fits me, that feels really good, that's better than the competitive world. But I don't feel like I have the direct experience that we're all one and that I am the cosmos and all that. I like it, but I feel like that's
Not this, not that path. We have to, we kind of do that initially. I'm not anything in manifestation. I am the infinite formlessness. I'm not that or that or that or that. And then in the recognition of that infinite emptiness, we begin to realize that it doesn't have any boundaries or edges. It's everywhere. It's always been here. And gradually that asks us then to actually begin to, I'm also this, and also this, and I'm also this, and I'm showing up as this, and I'm showing up as that. And so negating everything to see that in which it all appears, but then having to include back everything.
yeah.
Because it's all an expression of yourself.
Okay.
And that's when the deeper recognition of oneness really starts to manifest in a deep love and intimacy with what is.
Yeah, I want that. I am that.
You see right there. Wonderful. Well done. Well
Cool. I think the boundaries part will be helpful for me as a starting place of if I am this open space,
where does
what's the
emptiness
boundary
stop?
between me and you and that?
Where does your emptiness stop and mine start? Here.
Right. Yeah.
Nonsense.
I
right?
don't know. I'm curious.
Find out if it can stop. Can it have an edge if it's insubstantial?
Mm,
I'll leave you with that for now.
I love it. Thank you so much. Nice to meet you.
Lovely to talk to you. Thank you. Last but not least is Terry.
Hi, Helen.
Hi. Excuse me. How are you
My,
doing?
my cat is yelling. Sorry.
My cat is 5 minutes before we got online, she was trying to stand on my head, so totally there with you.
Usually starts asking for dinner 2 hours prior to actual mealtime. So
Yeah.
it's really nice to meet you. I am very new to your teaching. I was introduced to this by Linda Yeaman. I hope I'm saying her name right. And I've really loved this conversation. It really feels, well, it just is pointing at that knowing. And I thought I had a question about, I'm at a point in my journey. I know there's no journey and there's really no question. And usually when I'm speaking to anyone or in any kind of group situation where questions are asked, I feel like there's no questions because there's nothing to answer. And then it's just laughter. So I had a very profound awakening 35, 36 years ago now. And it lasted off and on over 5 years. And then I think I was going through a massive amount of spiritual bypass unknowingly with no teacher. I was
Been there,
not
done
knowing.
that.
Yes, not
It's
knowing
so
that I
easy to
wasn't.
delude yourself,
I
right?
Well, it really, I mean, I literally could just expand beyond whatever the situation was that was yanking at things. And I was just like, but I also didn't care if the plane went down. You know, I was just like, no fear of death or anything like that. So anyway, here I am many years later, and I'm looking again at this with a much more, a lot more under my belt, let's say that, and more maturity about, you know, the whole idea of specialness and the realization that I'm not special, and how cool is that? That I mean, just the full embrace of I have no purpose. Like I used to think, because I, like most of us, grew up thinking I had to add something on or I wasn't good enough. So the purpose became the thing that I had to get and fulfill to be okay. So now to not have a purpose, it feels so freeing. And I live with someone who was diagnosed with Parkinson's 3 or 4 years ago, a lot of signs prior to that. And as his disease does its thing, I'm presented with all kinds of things that are triggering for me, that bring up all that stuff that still needs to be looked at, I guess. And one of those things is fidgeting. I mean, he doesn't shake, he fidgets, and it's like constant. When he's hitting on his computer, there's no sliding. It's like
Yeah.
And I can feel myself, honey, can you slide instead of poke? You know, like I want to quiet him down. And now, I mean, I went through that for a year or two, and now I'm just getting to a place where I can feel I'm in the moment, I'm doing whatever, I'm present, and can feel the anger and the wanting to control come up. And I'm starting to not act on it. I'm starting to be able to see it, you know,
It's a miracle in itself there.
is that really what I want? To move down that road of trying to control this outer situation. I mean, it's like I'm making a choice of, and instead just being with the experience of a sound in all there is. And the emotion that's coming up and whatever it is, you know, even asking who's upset by this noise or any kind of questions like that seem almost irrelevant. I don't know. There's probably a question in there. I just feel like I'm approaching this in a whole new, well, there is no time. And I know that I loved that conversation you just had. I mean, this is the portal to all there is. And I was laughing with you all while you were talking. It was so true.
Just, for me, as my awakening deepened, the first thing I did was a whole lot of bypassing, a whole lot. Like, that's just not real. Manifestation is not real. And whatever's going on in my life, it's not my issue to fix. And technically that's true. But of course, it was my separate sense of self doing that. I found the self now, and I'm going to hide there for as long as I can. But finding the self, the infinite self, then eventually will deepen and ask us to look at what we haven't wanted to on some level. And of course, we needed a break from that, right? We needed a respite from that. But the love of the infinite self eventually is going to call us back to include everything back in to that oneness. And most of all, that is, our mind will tell us it's about outer situations going on in our life, but really it's the emotions, generally just the emotions that we haven't been able to feel fully as a imagined separate being, and that we can now feel as the infinite being. And for me, that was the journey. Some of those emotions, I had to really question what they were trying to tell me, what the idea was underneath them. So a lot of fear telling me I'm not safe, reflecting this belief I'm not safe, that I hadn't fully realized deep in the cells what it means to be me. And anger, feeling, as you said, a lack of control, lack of empowerment, feeling very, very limited, because I haven't fully realized what it means to be the unlimited me. I'm not living it in that moment so much, so for me, there was a very deep call to include, and that's not pretty, it's not easy, but the love of who you are that love, and it will want to do that, right? You can feel it now. It's like, I don't want to feel separate from anything, not even this shame or this anger or this reaction I have when, this kind of thing inside when, tap, tap, tap or bang, bang, bang's happening. I even want to love that on some level. It's that kind of literally living that oneness then, isn't it? Can I see myself as this contracted tension that appears inside the body? Can I see myself as this anger? Can I see myself this other being doing something that I'd rather not do or whatever, right? It's just that process coming back around now, isn't it? And knowing that that would only be happening because we are deeply already recognizing who we are. And that capacity we have then is to love even what the mind says is totally unlovable and should be rejected about ourselves. The infinite self will ask us to love it. Not necessarily like it. Nobody's going to enjoy feeling anger or anything, are they? But we can love it, understanding where it came from, this idea. These ideas are very true for us as separate beings, but not for the infinite self. The life will just show you where you're still believing some old thoughts. There's an other being here that is doing something I don't want them to do, and I can't make it, I'm disempowered in this moment. I can't change. That idea is not true for you.
I have okay, this is a story I realize I'm going to tell you.
I like stories. You know, I
Okay.
can't believe them. Yeah.
The experience I've had, the one that is always available, and is always only now, did feel and does feel all encompassing.
Mhm.
And is a sense of perfect okayness and compassion and everything for all of what pops up.
Yeah.
I think right now what's on the now moment table is really starting to hone that sensitivity to what's going on in me, and to be able to feel fully.
Yeah.
All of it.
What if your body is a temple of love, where we can love fear or anger or shame? What if it is, what if that is the main reason for even having a body, is to feel whatever we haven't wanted to feel, and to allow it to return back to peace and love as well? It's quite a different thing than what we usually tell ourselves. Oh God, why am I angry again? Why can't I? Why is this still going on? You know, whatever we're saying about it. It's quite a holy thing. You can even come to see anger as being the infinite self, the infinite love in disguise. That's quite a deep awakening then, isn't it?
And the being with the experience of the trying to get out there and mess with the pieces that appear to be different or somehow distracting from my peace, from my peace.
Yeah.
And being able to I do realize that's not coming from anywhere else. I do know that it's the perfection is beyond the stories.
Just an energy that plays for a while, right? It's just
Yeah.
like, if I rearrange everything out here, I'll feel better. You know,
Mhm.
it's just an energy. Like
Yeah.
if I turn all the furniture upside down in this room, somehow it'll change what I feel inside.
Exactly.
You do just notice that going on. It's like, maybe it'll go on for as long as it goes on for. And you can even come to love that, right? That's what we're doing with this conversation.
I think the sense of humor deepens greatly.
Oh yeah, a lot more fun. A lot more fun. Yeah. Well, please
Well,
save
thank
me
you
from
very
ever being
much.
serious again.
Exactly.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Lovely to talk to you. Thank you.
Lovely to talk to you.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll leave it there for this evening. Some wonderful conversations and very, very insightful questions sent in and asked here. And in this sharing that we do, it helps us all, doesn't it? Each person's question is everyone's question if we're willing to really listen. It must be, right? Because there's only one of us here. And anything that we see going on in any body and mind is our own self. But let's be gentle with ourselves if we can't quite fully live as that as yet. You're doing the best that you can, always. And that, if we can remember that, and maybe you need another post-it note to stick, I'm doing the best I can. I used to write it on my hand and carry it on, doing the best I can. So thank you for being here with me. Namaste.